Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And you know, it's one of these times where we look at kind of the beginning of the year when we kind of see some of our programs and some of the things in our community that people are really passionate about, people get really involved in. Leadership Terrebonne is one of those. Very excited to have the new chairman, Leadership Terrebonne, Travion Smith. Thanks for joining us today.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm well, thanks. And so tell me a little bit about your perspective. Let's talk about what Leadership Terrebonne was for you and maybe some of the reasons why you joined.
Okay, I kind of met Karen maybe 3 years ago.
Right.
Talking right after the pandemic.
Through the theater?
Well, not quite yet. I got involved in the theater because of Karen and Leadership Terrebonne.
Yeah, we get voluntoed that way. Right?
That's a part of it.
Karen has a way of asking you something that you didn't realize that it was actually a directive.
Absolutely. You know what I mean.
Yes, sir, I do. So 3 years or so ago, got to meet Karen and
had a great lunch with her, and she was just telling me about the program. I was very interested in it. I had a couple of friends who had went through that year, and I was like, I think I want to do this. And just learning about how much that was to be gained from being in the program, I decided to sign up, and I went through the class of 2022.
Right.
And I had a ball. It was a very eye-opening moment for me going through each of the classes and learning about the infrastructure and how things work in our parish. And it made such an impact on me. I wanted to get more involved. Okay. And it was a great experience.
Yeah. And so now here, the option to become chairman, how does that process work?
So I became a board member last year of the Alumni Association. There's a board. And I joined the board just to give some input. I felt like I'm kind of on the outside looking in, so why not get inside and see what things I can do to help move the program along. So I served on the board for a year, and just so happens this year I was nominated by one of my peers, and I accepted the nomination, and it was a unanimous vote to make me chairman.
Well, and again, what happens is, as a young man, I love the fact that people see the value. That first you saw the value in Leadership Terrebonne,
right?
And that gave you some insight about what the internal workings of the parish is, which is remarkable, by the way.
Absolutely.
We live, and one of the things I think we forget in this beautiful Bayou region of Terrebonne, I think we forget about all the wonderful things that we have here.
Yes.
And so the Celebrate 200 did that for me. It reminded me about such a rich history, such a rich culture, and that we've got some really special history that maybe not every area has.
That's a fact. I was very involved in the Terrebonne 200.
Right.
Actually, I was cheated out of winning the pie eating contest.
Okay.
Shout out to Manny Merlos who came in as the ringer. But Terrebonne 200 really unlocked a lot of things for me because you get to see how far this parish has come, but also see what things are still missing, what things can we work on to push us forward. So when I saw the amount of people that were supporting Terrebonne 200, it just was like, okay, so what are some other things that I can do? Where can I be available?
Gotcha.
And especially going through Leadership Terrebonne, I ended up on the board for planning and zoning. I ended up on a board for the Human Services Authority. These are things that I'm passionate about. I love economic development. I'm an advocate for mental health. So going through the process of being in Leadership Terrebonne through our healthcare day and through our government days, I was able to talk to the leaders in those respective fields and got some insight. And it's like, well, maybe some input from me would help. And how can I serve my community more?
And again, what you're saying, I think, is we get the opportunity to look back at where we've been, to kind of see where we are. But more importantly, you've said, what can I do to make us move forward, or what's still missing here that we can move forward on in our parish and our community?
Absolutely. As residents of Terrebonne Parish, I feel like all of us have a stake in this community, and where we can be of service. That's one of the main goals of Leadership Terrebonne, is to get you involved. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities, plenty of opportunities for you to see the shortfalls.
Right.
Having very candid conversations with school board superintendents and even our elected officials here in Terrebonne Parish that work in Baton Rouge, having real conversations with them, it allows you the ability to say, hey, me as a community stakeholder, I want to be invested in this. I want to make sure that I'm the reason that we move forward.
Yeah, and where is it? And I love all the different areas that you've kind of said, okay, what areas do we need? Mental health is one of those that certainly needs a great deal of advocacy, always has, but as we've seen funding here kind of go away,
yes,
and some of these organizations and agencies just trying to provide these resources with very little support nationally or statewide.
Correct.
Now we'll see what we need to do here. And so it's just one of those things that as a social worker, I look back and go, man, I'm so glad that Travion's dedicated to that. I'm so glad that they've seen his leadership qualities put him on the board. I'm so glad that there's a unanimous decision for him to be the chairman of Leadership Terrebonne, which is a really big honor.
It is. It's a little overwhelming to see that there's an organization that's been around for so long, and some titans of industry, very great leaders in our state and locally, who have gone through this program. So not only do I get to be in the program, I've been appointed as the chairman. It's a huge responsibility, but also a great honor. And I'm just thankful for the people who made that happen for me.
Yeah, and again, as of January 10th, we've got all these other officers, and we've got all these other board members. I want to say congratulations to them.
Absolutely.
And what they've done, and may they follow in the steps of their fearless leader here. But I love the fact that you've kind of, whatever it is that we're voluntold to do, we look at that and take that seriously and passionately and look at how to make a difference. So thank you for taking it that way.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment and this particular Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.